Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. In the Norscan mountain ranges, we do have the giants on the warpath, and they have the Greenskins in their sights. We have myself on the Norscan side, and we'll have MFG commanding the Greenskins. So for the Norscan forces, we have a front skirmishing force of a pair of Marauder horsemen with one horse master, and they will be supported by a couple of skin wolves, going to be providing a little bit of a deterrent to any of the Greenskin skirmishers, and they will trade fairly effectively into most of the Greenskin cav as well, with their bonus versus large, and of course they do have a nice little bit of physical resist as well to help kind of keep the most of the damage at bay, and of course they have regen as well to boot to really keep them in the fight for a pretty long time, especially if they are able to stay pretty much away from high damage output units. We do have some marauders in the front line as well, and they will be backed up by another marauder and a marauder champion who is going to be keeping a little bit of staying power for that front line, as they do have a very respectable 53 melee defense, which is pretty respectable against some factions do have quite a bit of problems dealing with that kind of melee defense in the thick of things. And for the Lords of the Heroes, we have Throg going to be leading the charge into the fight, as he will have the fight or die, with giving a nice little bit of leadership and 24 melee defense in an AoE around him. And he does have the Wintertooth Crown as well, which is an AoE unbreakable, which does last for a nice little duration. We have Favorite Balefine of Fire going to be bringing Fireball, Burning Head, as well as Scroll of Shielding to help give a little bit of extra damage resistance to any unit in a sticky situation. We do have the pair of Norscan Giants going to be rolling in deep as well, going to be providing a lot of stopping power with that 600 weapon strength, armor piercing, so it's a very respectable, and they have a base leadership of 100 as well, so that will definitely keep them in the fight for a very long duration, and especially paired with the Wintertooth Crown, going to make them even more of a hard unit to bring down. But that is going to be it for the Norscan side. So for the Greenskins, we have a front line of goblins going to be providing a little bit of chaff for that front line, going to be taking that initial charge, and we do have some orc boys in the rear, 3 of those, and 2 savage orc biggins in the forest line as well. But the highlight of this army is going to be the biggin. He is going to be throwing those rocks from downtown, as he is going to be having a very nice melee power, as well as he has 150 armor, 600 weapon strength. Now, as that HP does slowly get whittled away, that armor will drop, but his weapon strength will increase, as you can kind of take a quick little look at those stages. As you can see, it slowly gets changes a bit by bit, so 60 plus 80, and then eventually at the end it's minus 90 and plus 120 armor piercing weapon damage, so that's pretty considerable there. We do have Wurzag. He is going to be bringing his Bonewood Staff, giving a nice little bit of charge defense, charge bonus, and melee attack when he is casting his spells. He also has the Squiggly Beast, giving power recharge and power reserves. We have Gaze of Mork. We have Fist of Gork giving magic damage, which would be very nice against those skin wolves, bypassing that physical resist. We have Edbutt doing a nice little bit of damage to the generally low armored infantry of the Norskins. And we do have Get Back here for a little bit of leadership, and Effigy of the Git, which is a nice little snare, which can kind of keep some units pinned in to allow the like Savage Orcs or the Biggin to do some nice little bit of damage. And for skirmishers, we do have Forscom Spider Riders and a Goblin Wolf Rider Archer, a pair of those on both sides, and then we have a couple of goblin rock lobbers throwing in their shots as the Norskins do approach, but that's going to be the army. So let's get things rolling as both sides do approach one another, as the artillery from the Greenskins just continuing to rain in shots. The Biggin and both of the Goblin Rock Lobbers doing some good damage to the approaching Norskins. The initial Marauders taking quite a bit of damage. Now, definitely would like to be shooting into these Marauder champions, but he might not know that those are champions over the regular Marauders. But the Skin Wolves are going to be getting into the Goblin Wolf Rider Archers in the rear, but the Savage Orc Biggins are going to be rotating around to kind of push them back, as they have on the other flank as well. But both of these Marauder Horsemen and one of the Horse Masters going to be firing in at these Goblin Rock Lobbers, already taking out one of the artillery pieces. The Greenskins really should be trying to screen them out. A Gaze of Mork does go down into Throg, but he will pretty much just be able to regen right on through that, as he does wade into the Goblins ahead of his Marauders, as they do charge forward, trying to get into the backline here, as they're trying to try and thread the needle. But these Orc Boys going to be rotating around to try and counteract that. Now, the Marauders that had taken quite a bit of damage from the initial approach actually getting routed off by these goblins. Not something you normally expect to see happening, but otherwise the front line is looking pretty good for the Greenskins here. The Savage Orcs mixed in with the Orc Boys doing some nice bit of damage, but we do have a Burning Head going to be roasting through these Orc Boys, doing a ton of damage to them as well as these goblins, and then is going to be going right on through the Savage Orc Biggins as well, doing a ton of damage, bypassing their physical resist and doing a ton on that frontline engagement. Is going to be definitely swaying the balance in the favor of the Norskins, as both of the Giants though are engaging with the Biggin, and we do have Throg here as well as the Finbeard Belfian, who does have armor sundering, so getting some hits into the Biggin, as long as he is trying to avoid most of the damage, is going to be actually pretty beneficial here. Getting rid of just any bit of armor is going to be very helpful. But both of these Giants just wailing on the Biggin as the Wa does go off though, and that's going to be pushing its melee attack into the stratosphere. 931 is going to be something else indeed, as it is going to be wailing on these Giants, doing a ton of damage in that regard, and these Savage Orcs still continuing to just push out the rest of the forces, but the Skin Wolves getting away from them. It's going to be getting into that back line. These Goblin Rock Climbers have been pushed off their equipment, but they are now going to be ripe for the taking as the Skin Wolves do charge in from that tree line. But yeah, these Norscan Giants just doing a ton of damage. Effigy of the Git does go down on to Throg though, and that is going to allow the Biggin to really kind of put some punishing on him. But at this point though, he was kind of stuck in melee anyways, but man, he takes a massive hit from that Biggin. But just being surrounded by all of these units, again, some work does go down onto the Norscan Giant. The Wintertooth Crown does go off, though, kind of keeping all of these units in the fight, as the Biggin does finally rout the mobile forces of the Norskins, though, able to kind of get into the back line, able to push off these Force Goblin Spider Riders, really just kind of finally get rid of the Goblin Rock Climber. But the Biggin does finally fall, as his crumbling body does fall into the snow, actually staggering the Norscan Giant as he does it. But with him gone, that is a lot of the stopping and staying power of the Greenskin forces, and now everything just kind of slowly getting pushed off bit by bit. The Norscan Giant did get a scroll shielding off just as that Gaze of Mork does go down, trying to keep it in the fight, and with all of the all of the HP that is left on the Norscan side, it's just going to be really hard for the Greenskins to get through, and I don't think they can at this point, because I mean, Throg is going to be regenning, both the Skin Wolves going to be regenning as well, and really what all is left is Wurzag here, and we do have some skirmishers as well. But yeah, just the Skin Wolves are going to be able to kind of clean all of that up. Everything else is getting kind of chased off. There is some goblins returning, some Orc Boys, but everything else for the most part is either routed, shattered, or being chased off by the rest of the Norscan infantry. And Wurzag is not going to be able to take on two Giants, Throg, and all of these Skin Wolves. He's going to try and get a Gaze of Mork off, trying to do as much damage as he can, but it's going to be too little too late. He might be able to take down one of them with his spell casting, but he's not going to be able to take down the other, and it is going to be pretty soon here before army losses, as just a little bit more damage is going to be able to trigger that. Skin Wolf is going to be chasing down these Force Goblin Spider Riders in the late game, as well as these Marauder Horsemen, and a Fireball at point blank range going to be going into Wurzag, and that is going to be enough to trigger the army losses, and the Norskins going to be able to pull through in their homeland, as the Greenskin invasion is going to be repelled. So take a look at the after battle report here. On the Norskin side, both of the Giants engaging with the Biggin, able to get some decent value, but they do cost 1600 themselves. Now they did have quite a bit of, or at least one of them had quite a bit of HP left, so not really a very good tell on their overall value. Rest of the forces, we have the Skin Wolves doing pretty good work themselves, getting over 700 apiece, and they do, but overall they still had quite a bit of HP left, and with all of their regening was kind of really the big thing there, because the Greenskins at the end just didn't have enough to really bring them down. The Savage Orcs were actually a really good pick against them. They do quite a bit of damage if they are able to get on top of them. Unfortunately, with proper micro, the Skin Wolves should be able to avoid those Savage Orcs for quite a bit of time, and especially that Burning Head sure didn't help keep those Savage Orcs alive and well into the late game. For the rest of the Norscan forces, the skirmishers did quite well, all of them paying for themselves and a little extra. The Marauder Champions not quite being able to pay for themselves, but they are able to provide a little bit of an anchor in that front line, especially around the two Giants, really able to kind of keep the infantry support always with them. The rest of the Norskins not doing quite so well, taking quite a bit of damage on the initial approach. But however, the Fimir Balefine of Fire able to get quite a bit of value with those burning heads, one of them just roasting right on through the Orc Boys as well as the Savage Orc Big Guns, doing a ton of damage there, and Throg was able to just kind of get a little bit of extra damage as well into the Big Gun, kind of just focusing that down, and once the Big Gun did fall, yeah, it was kind of bit, the rest surely followed soon. And for the Greenskin side, the Big Gun able to get 1,800, a nice bit of value. However, they do cost over 3k, so not really quite able to be paying for itself. Usually it's just kind of a fun unit to bring. It's kind of a off pick as well. It's just if the Norskins aren't prepared for it, it is kind of hard to bring down with that kind of armor. Even if they have a bunch of like jabs and stuff, it will still last quite a bit of time, and the jabs can be taken out pretty quickly themselves. The Goblin Rock Clobbers didn't do quite so well either. They were able to get kind of shut down pretty early on, as the Norskins were able to kind of get into range pretty quickly, and that initial skirmishers were able to kind of push one unit out, and the other one just didn't have enough time to get enough value for them. Rest of the forces, just kind of quickly go through those. The Goblin Wolf Rider Archers actually did some decent work themselves. Savage Orcs unfortunately did not. The frontline engagement, actually these Orc Boys did very well, able to get 1,000 in value. Kind of interesting to see that kind of value train on something only getting 15 kills. They must have been running in support with the Big Gun there. I think that may have been some damage dealt either to the Norskins, Throg, or something like that. Not really sure how they were able to get that kind of value here. The rest of the forces, though, Goblins just kind of providing their chaff, and Wurzag was more of a support role here. The only real damage dealer he had was the Headbutt and the Gaze of Mork. Pretty much just kind of giving some extra melee attack, melee defense to his units, and getting a nice little bit of extra magic as well. But unfortunately, once the Big Gun did fall, the Greenskins followed suit soon afterward, and the Norskins are able to pull through in their homeland, and the Greenskins are defeated. That's going to be all I have for you today. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good one.